Yo guys, how are you all doing this fine day? So basically in this vid, I'll be talking about all the advanced tactics I've learned over all the time I've been KKing to get faster kills, less deaths, and generally being efficient about killing KK. If you've never been to fight the Kalphite King before, I'd highly recommend that you watch a basic guide before you watch this. Can made an amazing day of release guide which has over 12k views as we speak, so be sure to check that out for the basic guide on what to do once you're fighting the KK. But ignore the setup section because it is now outdated, and I'll update the link to Can's new updated guide once it's out. I'll be basing this video on the currently up-to-date and efficient team composition of having tank, provoker and attacker, not necessarily with Drygles, just as general composition. If you don't know what these stand for, please watch a basic guide to start off. Finally, I'd like to say that I've tried to get examples of everything that I demonstrate here as I could as clips, but unfortunately some of them are rare occurrences and I may have missed the right time to record, so I apologize for that, but a good chunk of the tips I'm going to talk about will have clips to demonstrate them. So firstly, for Provoker, you usually want to keep adrenaline at max so that you can use barricade, which is the best option to use after voking off from the tanker once the one hit attack has been carried out. However, if you want to heal off KK's hit, obviously use resonance after voking. It's quite likely though that if you voke early, you'll get hit by a minion and the resonance effect will be lost and you'll be one hit and you will die. This is because the minions use Mage, and a melee team wears Void or high level melee armor, both of which have low magic defense. Now the only slots affecting your offensive accuracy are the torso and leg. So you can use the wrong style boots, for example, and your accuracy won't be affected. You'll still get a better defense in another style. So for Provoker, it is best to use Glaven boots for the maximum magic defense to decrease the chance of the minions sniping resonance. If you're not using Void, you might also want to use the Pernix Cowl and Swift gloves or Barriers gloves for that increased mage defense. These are also very useful to attackers and tankers to help tank the brutal hits from the mage phase. You can also use Immortality after voking and cast Resonance last, because this acts as a backup if Resonance was to fail by saving you from death. However, you'll need to be quick to cast both of them before he does the attack on you, because if your adrenaline isn't full, just try and cast Resonance at the last possible second to minimize chance of snipage by the minions. But there is a catch. As you can see, Immortality can very rarely fail, when apparently KK removes its effect and this instantly kills you. I'm not sure why, and it's the same with Barricade, as you can see in the chat box. You can't do much about this, to be honest, but to be fair, I've only had this happen once to me each throughout my whole time KKing since day of release. Most Provokers look over this thing, but the Void Deflectors were quite popular pre-EOC, so if you have it and you're a Provoker, use it, because it acts as a shield, so you could wear a better torso item than a Void top, since a deflector replaces your top as one of the 4 Void pieces needed for the effect. Popular choices for the top are the BCP and Tova plates for the epic LP and defense, as well as the slight damage bonus. If you've seen people use a bunyip, it's probably because they're using a tackle box. It has many benefits for bossing. The best one is the Champion's tackle box, but I think there are 5 in total and you need to get the previous one before the new one. But the Champion's one, which is the 5th one, is basically a yak, but you don't lose its contents when you die. Plus you only need a summoning level of 68 rather than 96. The Bunyip special scroll lets you eat raw fish and heal the full amount without draining your adrenaline bar like Unispecs and eating normal food. But the one downside is that you need the cooking level needed to cook the raw fish to use the spec, so 93 cooking for rocktails. Talking of adrenaline bar though, since eating an Unispecs drains it, it's probably best to eat up after using an ultimate when your bar is 0 anyway, although obviously eating is usually done in an emergency. As far as ultimates are concerned, I've seen people use Berserker as soon as KK spawns, because this is the best time to use it, since he won't be hitting huge amounts and you can get off to a flying start, but you need to remember to preserve your adrenaline from the previous fight until he spawns, for example by killing the marauders or whatever outside the cave until the new fight has started. Also, I would say that tankers should not use Berserker but use Massacre as an ultimate, and attackers should try to use Berserker because of the risk to the risk to a tanker of double damage. Adrenaline potions also help if you're an attacker to get that max DPS going, especially using a threshold like Assault straight after Berserker. As a Provoker, I tend to spam all the basics to get myself to max Adrenaline in time for the first green attack, so I take minimum risk by using Barricade rather than Resonance. I tend not to use many thresholds, because I don't like to risk it by only using Resonance, so I always either use Immortality plus Resonance, or just Barricade on its own. In the Mage phase you can tank the first orange ball attack used straight after a blue ball attack, because this always hits a 1 regardless of anything, but remember to note the condition that it only works for the first orange orb exploding attack he does after the blue one, and it works throughout the kill, so whenever this happens in the kill. This is very useful to save some time because you won't need to run away every time he throws exploding orbs if you know about this, so you can get faster kills by tanking this specific exploding orb. There are also a few things you can do to spend more time attacking him during the Mage phase. If everyone stands on one side of KK for this phase, then the orbs will mostly all just come to one side, and you can all move to the other side and continue attacking and repeat. However, sometimes tanks don't like you standing next to them because they take more damage as the orbs hit them, and more orbs hit them. And since the food sink will mainly be the tank, them eating more means shorter trips for the whole team. You can also run in a sort of ring like you do for the Sunfreet in Dominion Tower, stand far out, when the orb comes, walk towards KK a bit, after the next orb walk all the way to him and attack him without fear of the orbs hitting you. Also, if the Provoker can afford an offhand Drago, they should use it in place in this phase instead of the shield, since KK won't use the one-hit green attack in this phase, and you can use ultimates like Massacre and Overpower if you're wearing a shield. Massacre if you're not wearing a shield though. However, don't use Berserker because then it's very easy to die in the Mage phase. Slaughter is a good ability to use because it deals 3 times normal damage if KK moves. This is easiest to do for the tank because they control the movement of KK. If you want to get KK to move, just walk under him, because he will have to move to get back to attacking you. However, if there's fast, good communication within the team, like if you're on Skype or a key letter, or you have a key, like a letter to indicate that Slaughter is active, and you want the tank to move, Slaughter can be very damaging in the long term if the tank moves immediately after you use Slaughter, so that the effect has maximum damage on KK. The tank also has another responsibility though, and you need to do this instinctively. If there are loads of minions around, others will find it hard to see KK, and this is especially bad if the Provoker can't see him during doing his one-hit attack, so simply run away from the crowd of minions to lure him away if you're a tank. You'll need to run further though if it's in a range or Mage phase. You can alternatively wait until KK does his dig attack and then move so he reappears elsewhere. Talking of the dig attack, in the range phase especially, you can get stunned for quite a long time, and it can be annoying if freedom is still recharging. But if KK digs and you're stunned, and you're the tank, you can use surge or escape at the very last second to stop him from hitting you when he jumps from under the sand. You need to time it right when his spine appears, because if you do it too early he'll appear to your new position and you'll still get hit. You can use surge and escape in the Mage phase when he spawns the orbs and you're stunned. It is a quicker escape than using freedom and then running. If you're a really pro Provoker, then you can wear a dual wield throughout the whole kill. You need to be very experienced and have a very good connection though, and basically spot the insta-kill attack from the second that KK starts to glow the right color, not from the color of the tank, but from the second that KK starts to glow the right color. Immediately put on a shield, Vogue can use Barricade or Resonance. All this will be very tight because of the recharge time when you switch worn items, but it's very possible, and you can look very good if you pull it off consistently. You won't have time to mess around though, so you should always be concentrating really hard, and maybe even put your shield onto your ability bar for a faster switch. Since this is risky, there should definitely be a backup worker in the team for this method. Anticipation is a pretty useful ability you should always use when you most need it. For starters, right when he switches to Mage phase, he probably won't be at full health because he'll be caught unawares, so use Anticipation as soon as his wings turn blue to prevent him from stunning you after throwing an orb, and so avoid the possible KO from not being at full health. I also like to use it before I do a long-lasting attack like Assault and most decent ultimates, because if you're stunned when you're doing them, they'll be cut short and Anticipation prevents getting stunned for 10 seconds. Talking of ultimates, the best time to use them would be just after he does his green attack aura and when he has his red aura on, because these are the times when there's the least possible chance of him doing his green aura again. It's really annoying when people keep healing him by tearing him during the green aura, so you should always communicate to teammates when he has this on so that they can stop attacking him, especially in the Mage phase when everyone is scattered so that not everyone can see him when he activates the aura. The red aura may not be as important, but for Provoker it is. If you evoke him off after he casts his green one-hit attack on the tank, and he has his aura on, definitely try not to die because he will heal 24k if you do. And don't use Reflect because it will heal him 5k, although I don't see why you would because it has no effect when you're evoking off. Also don't use Immortality because technically you still died, so he'll still heal 24k. If you're a tank with a shield, Reflect and Debilitate are really good ones to use along with Revenge, especially in the Mage phase when you'll get hit hard. Plus you can also use Resonance to heal off the orbs, although keep in mind it will only heal the first hit you receive. Barricade is amazing in this phase and you can afford to use it because there will be no one-hit attacks to save the tank from in this phase. But remember, if you have dual Drygors and you're the Evoker, switch to the offhand Drygor for higher DPS in this phase and switch back immediately after he switches phases again. Defensive abilities are actually more useful than you think. Say if you have back-to-back insta-kill attacks and you use Resonance and Immortality for the first, but Resonance hasn't recharged in time for the second, and you don't have the Adrenaline for Barricade, you can still evoke, and the Immortality from the previous evoke will save you this time, provided that it wasn't used up then, because if you couldn't use Resonance for the second one, it means Immortality hasn't worn off yet. Both have 30-second timers, so Immortality will save you from dying from the second evoke. Sorry if this sounds confusing, but it makes sense if you think about it, and it's a very good method. It saved me as Evoker 3 times. However, if you don't want to rely on this, use the ability Preparation to speed up the recharge of Resonance, which I always do unless I'm already on full Adrenaline. Remember though that if the insta-kill attacks are happening soon after the last one, the tanker needs to evoke back as soon as he can so that the evoker doesn't turn green as soon as they save the tanker. So make a habit of knowing that you need to evoke back if you're the tanker as soon as you're saved. The last few tips I want to give are firstly that if you're the tank and KK does a high hitting bleed like Slaughter in the melee phase, don't move and immediately use Freedom because hits can easily KO you, especially if you move because they'll hit 3 times. And they've been seen to hit 1k to 3k bleeds at a time when you move. So just keep your health at 75% and don't be complacent. There are 2 ultimates you shouldn't use. Firstly, Frenzy, the dual wielder ultimate, causes him to use a huge barricade, which acts exactly like the ones that we can use. And secondly, although this is debated, the dual wield range ability on load can cause him to use Immortality, which again has the same effect as the one we use, so especially inconvenient when he's about to die because he'll respawn with 30% LP. So that's about it as far as specific tips are concerned. On screen now you can see the abilities I use as a Evoker, and the setup has been proven to be very effective for me with a very low failure rate. The circled abilities are the non-important ones, so just click them manually on the ability interface when needed. Generally, just have really good communication, like know who's a new Evoker and or tank when the old one dies, and decide this well in advance so the switch is quick and little risk is involved. Evoke like an absolute boss. and you'll feel really good for not dying at all. Don't leave anyone in the battle. Cough me on the video in the background. So pay attention, pay extra attention when someone dies. Turn off private except for the host, and use weapon poison to poison him if you want. And don't forget the auras, especially penance for a tanker and vampirism for an attacker. Again, I'm not saying I know everything, but some things are controversial and or may have changed, which is why I haven't included them, like stalling and preventing loss of kills by entering a battle but not going in, like how stuns delay the KK's switching phases, or doing attacks like the insta-kill and exploding orbs, like backhand and kick. So yeah, any suggestions would be much appreciated, and I'll definitely add it in if I missed anything. I'm sorry that I haven't included much for attackers, because I've rarely been one myself. So yeah, have fun guys, become a pro, be nice and split with people that die during the kill. Catch you all later.